When people hear we are back, they think Potatoes Gang. And many quickly think Washington and think of such television programs that are fairly similar in their approach, like McLaughlin and Company, like Capital Gang. But the truth is that Potatoes Gang is really a reality show that came, well, to television in a different kind of way. Why is it a reality show? Back in the early 80s, when I first returned from graduate studies in America, about 1982, I was fortunate to live in a nice bungalow in Surulere on Eric Moore Close. And it became a kind of melting pot, a kind of stop place for many of the bright, upwardly mobile, young intellectual types in Lagos. And so on their way back from work, many would just drive into my home, toss their jackets to one corner, and in our shirt sleeves, we'll all begin to debate Nigeria over a beer, over a glass of red wine. What can we do about Nigeria? Years later, that became Potatoes Gang, and we are back.
Hello there and welcome to Potatoes Gang. My name is Fumbi, and today on the show, we're looking at electoral process, reforms and its prospect for democracy. How do we elect our leaders? And should the system be changed? Let's join the gang to find out more.
Well, the big subject of the day is with us, the electoral process. What does it really mean? I guess the heart of our democracy is how we choose people who perform this agency function. It's important to emphasize agency function because there's a culture, unfortunately, in Nigeria in which people in positions of political authority, elected officials, are seen as the masters. But they're really agents. The sovereign is the people. So in finding these agents to send forward, how we find them matters a great deal in their effectiveness in being accountable to those people. And that's why the electoral process matters. I frequently refer to the South Korea example of how Korea literally redeemed itself by reforming its electoral process, and the kinds of people who ordinarily should not be in public life, who were dominating public life early in the history of Korea's democracy, got out of the way to people of service who were accountable to the people. What is the problem really with our democracy? I think that speaking to that will make a big difference to the nature of this democracy. How do we get the electoral process to work differently? What must we do to it? How do we go from machine politics, where political parties are essentially just platforms for getting elected, and create a process for essentially socializing people into a particular perspective on things, and government is therefore delivering on those promises?
I think we were almost there when we had the A4 option. Yeah. It worked. People voted and their votes were counted. Somehow we pulled back. We have to go back and look at it. Why and how did we step back from almost being there? Do we have the will to do it as a people? Are our leaders willing to let go of the enormous powers they wield in controlling who is head of INEC, who is appointed there, and what he does, and actually giving him the freedom to perform? If the will is there, we've shown that we could do it. I believe we can do it again. And if people are able and willing to come out and say, we do not accept such and such.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that over the years we've not been able to get it right. One is that people don't understand what democracy is. We need serious education on that, and the power of the voter, and the power he wields or she wields. And when you now know my experience, Prof, you can also your own experience in 2007 and my experience 2011 and 12, where a woman said to me in the marketplace when I was campaigning that, Oga, I no go vote for you if you no give me 100 naira. And you see that the poverty, everything written all over her, she didn't understand the power that she had in that vote. And that is the challenge that we have. The people, are we, because one thing is that illiteracy,
Poverty.
politics, and poverty, they don't mix. Democracy don't mix at all.
Yeah, what does this say for the fact that the Americans, when they were starting out, really the vote was not for everybody?
Yeah,
You
okay.
had, but then you ask, what democracy? Is it really true democracy if the vote is not for everybody? However, there seems to be an issue with allowing the vote sometimes for everybody.
They were able to define their own form of democracy. We have not been able to define our own form of democracy. And that is a challenge. We need to define our own form. Like Botswana, after independence, the 60s, and they adopted the same way they used to select their chiefs
In the
traditional
society,
way, society.
You believe with me that if we are to have a successful democracy, our reforms electorally must be people-oriented. I want to also say here that the people, the citizenry, need reorientation. And also, like what Madam said earlier, we need the people, leaders, people in hierarchy, to make sure they're able to allow this agency of electoral system have their own independence. When you place a person maybe as the chairman of INEC, and at the same time you are the one in charge controlling that fellow, what reforms do you tend to have at the end of the day?
Well, I guess people are looking at their self-interest in some of these things and not taking a broader view of a long-term consequence for society. But that's where we become penny-wise, pound-foolish. You can have short-term gain because you are a puppeteer. You are pulling the strings on the INEC people and the security and all of that. But ultimately, what kind of society comes out of it? I mean, look at the last how many years that we've had this democracy. Think how much more progress we could have made as a country if we had the right kinds of people elected, we had the kind of accountability and people knew. But the state we are in and people just think, this thing doesn't work, they're going to fix it, why should I even really bother? So that asking you for 100 naira becomes very important to them because they think that they have no power in...
That's all they're going to get.
Yes, that's all they will ever really get.
So give it to me now.
Now, yeah. So it has to change. Even though I have an interesting, different experience from 2007, I went to campaign in Dugbe Market in Ibadan. And one woman looks at me and says, "Are you serious? Did you say you were running for president of Nigeria?" I said, "Nobody running for local government has ever come here. And you say you're running for president. They are talking to us in Dugbe Market." I said, "Yes, it's because of you." And this woman opens this thing, brings out this roll. There's a roll or something.
Yeah,
she had money inside.
The money inside.
And gives me 500 naira. I was going to say, "Oh, don't worry," but I realized what it meant to her to make that gesture. So I took that 500 naira note from her. Remarkable. I mean, it just defines what our democracy could be. And it reminded me of early years in Western region. How did the Awolowo's fund their action group? It was only 50 naira or whatever it was, 5 shillings that those market women were contributing. And some of those women remembered it, that they made the government happen.
Yeah.
But our new democracy, our post-oil democracy,
It's all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about
Because one is that we have to also look at the individual parties. What's the selection process? And you know that it's expensive to get a ticket.
Even to buy the form.
To buy the
sometimes
form.
we're so insensitive to the signals we're sending.
Yeah.
When the political party says to a candidate, pay 10 million naira to get a form.
To make a form.
What are you saying?
What are you saying
Yeah.
about that
How does
democracy?
it make it back?
Yeah. Because, hey, this is an investment scenario.
I think it's a question of which came before the chicken or the egg. And if we're to have this reform, it must come from all sides. You take the issue of poverty. That 100 naira or whatever you're giving that person, they will eat for that day.
Right.
And that matters so much. You know, I ran for local government chairmanship,
Right.
so I was at that level. And I wasn't going to give anybody any money. But when you call a meeting, these women have to travel long distances.
Comes a meeting.
You got to feed them,
That's right.
and you have to give them transport money. That's all money that you're spending.
Yeah.
You limit it as much as you can, but they will run to the person who's distributing in the whole town 1,000 or 5,000.
Right.
And I argued, and I said, if he's giving you this much money, where is he going to get it back?
Yeah.
They didn't care. Just give it to me so I can
Instant
feed my family
gratification.
now.
Yes.
You talk about the political parties. My party, the PDP, allowed women to pick forms. Don't waste your time. They allow you to come take as many forms as you want. They've already decided. You're not getting it. So, what do you do? Now, what I want to say is this. It has to come from the leadership to set the kind of things in motion that we did when Humphrey Nwosu handled the election,
Right.
the A4. Then you have to educate the people to realize that by giving away, selling your vote, you're actually selling your future and the future of your children to those people. In my village, they dare not come to complain to me in my local government because I tried.
Okay, I think that's a very good note for us to pause. When we come back, I'd like to start with Humphrey Nwosu, who was my lecturer. I'd like to talk about Humphrey Nwosu.
Yeah.
Our gang seem to think that we need to reorientate the citizenry and we need to define our own form of democracy. But what do you think? Let's go to the streets and find out more.
When the government is seen that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
First of all, one of the things we could do as people of the country to change the way our electoral processes go is, first of all, it starts from the grassroots at the community level. We have to come back to our core values. Now, if a community is known to celebrate value, integrity, you understand? If a community is known to celebrate value and integrity, that value will find its way to be celebrated at the center in the long run.
Issue of the electoral process in Nigeria, I think what should be done to make it better, I think awareness and sensitizing the people is very, very key. Because the truth about it is many people don't really know, what is going on, during this period, how to go about it. And that's why you find many people, they collect money and all the likes. But if people are sensitized, about their rights, what they need to do, how, they need to vote and who they need to vote for, I think it will also go a long way.
I was talking about Humphrey Nwosu. Professor Nwosu, when he came back after his PhD in 1973, the very first class he taught at UNN was the class that I was in. And it's amazing how throughout, in the early parts of his tenure, people kept talking about his jocular, his apparent, and I kept saying, Humphrey Nwosu will shock you guys. I kept saying, I didn't know why I was saying it, but I kept saying, Humphrey Nwosu will shock you guys. And I don't think any election in the history of this country can be compared to that which Humphrey Nwosu ran.
No. We owe him a debt of gratitude.
Yes.
And you find that they said that Morrissey, whose own was bad, but I think they should apologize to him considering what happened in 2015, Jega's own, because it was, I've never seen it that way. One, it became too expensive, and the people did not follow the rules.
No.
The stipulated amount of money to be spent, was not followed. And in fact, it was cash and carry.
What's interesting is that the last INEC, it's my understanding, made a trip to South Korea, and they got a thorough debriefing by the South Korean Electoral Commission about what they did in South Korea that changed things. One of the things that they told them was the place of debates in elections. Get anybody who says he wants to be a candidate to begin to debate the issues on the streets with the people there. Move it to the next level. To the next level, you tell the people what you think about the way the world is, how you want to change it, exactly what you will do, what they should hold you accountable for. By the time you are done with this process and you get there, first of all, if you have not really thought through the process, you will fall out very quickly.
Of course. Prof, when people are even invited for debates and they refuse to attend such debates,
And nothing happens.
Yes,
and they contest and may likely win, and what do they
all
have to
those who
offer
have
people?
won have refused to participate in debates, actually, in the history. All of those who have won refused to participate in debates.
Can I say here that one issue we need to consider is the fact that power is so powerful in Nigeria. When you have power in the center, you own the country, you can do anything and get away with it. And that is the reason why the desperation is such. It's do or die. This is what's happening. Unless we're able to remove that aspect, people will always try to manipulate the electoral
It didn't
process.
start now. It started right before independence. Even when in Africa as a whole, they struggle for power. The colonial masters, the few Africans they admitted into their fold, when they handed over to them, they used their political destiny to accumulate wealth for themselves, so that they can use that wealth to oppress the masses and keep perpetuating themselves in power. So that has been the struggle, and nobody has a tolerance to say, okay, as if they're going to die today if they don't win it
But
today.
here's a very important role for civil society, and I don't think we've done well in that regard. I think that civil society can socialize the people to a different consciousness, to a consciousness of holding power accountable, to a consciousness of, because what has happened is that we have an elite that has evolved that is so base that anybody who has power can just dangle something in front of them, and and because of it, people don't act as they should in public life. But if civil society can educate people to actually mock people who hang around power. Let me give you my thesis, by the way, a silly new notion that I have been pushing. Anybody who has been in public office, elected or appointed for more than 10 years without a break is a parasite on society.
Absolutely.
Total parasite. Because if you really, for many reasons, first of all, if you really are contributing something, you need to refuel.
Yes.
Even find out where that society is.
Yes.
Because the way our country is structured, people in power are isolated from reality. They don't know what's happening to the people, and they can pretend that they go back to their constituency. That's all bunkum. They really are disconnected from the people. So if you don't refresh by not being in power for a period, then
You can sit back and
just
reflect.
so that's one. The second reason that I think that being in power for that long is that many people who hold positions of authority actually begin to surround themselves, it happens everywhere in the world, with people who look at them and say, sir, ma, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You stay, you stay that long with people telling you that, you begin to believe your own lie. You begin to believe your own lie. And so you need to save yourself from yourself by, after a period, breaking away from that and becoming real.
Pat, it wasn't always like that. Let me go back to when I was growing up in Port Harcourt. I was born into a family where my father was a politician, as well as the principal of a school, an educationist. And at that time, serving in the House of Representatives was part-time.
Yeah.
You had to keep the other job where you made your money to keep your family going. When my father ran for the House of Representatives, he had a bicycle a principal of Enitonia High School. He had a bicycle. His opponent in the action group had a retinue of aides and cars and entourage. But my father would go to speak in the field, and they would close down school and say, go listen to DK Onwenu speak. Take your notebooks, it's your English class for today. But most importantly, they knew that he loved the people.
Right.
They knew he was going there to serve, and they knew he wasn't going there for the money. They voted him. He won.
Right.
So, and at that time also, I don't know how old you are, sorry, but I know
Very
I'm older.
old.
I know I'm older than you. If you began suddenly to display money in the society, they'll send a delegation from your family, from your village.
Oh,
Say,
yeah.
where did you get
Yes.
this? People will begin to shun you for a while
Absolutely.
until they found out where you got the money. You weren't given the front row of the church pew to sit on.
That's right.
You weren't honored with chieftaincy titles. So it built into our consciousness in the society. Now, where and when did this
change.
stop?
The crisis of values.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a collapse of culture, clearly.
Yes. And, you know, parents are now encouraging their children, you know, to get into Yahoo or some of these
Well,
vices.
I think there was something that happened to Nigeria, and I call it the unfortunate meeting of what became a dangerous alchemy of soldiers and oil.
Yeah.
Soldiers, not because they are terrible people, but because of the nature of the structure of the military, met this thing that just came out of the ground called oil, and it defined our lives.
It did.
Easy money, all of that.
It did.
From there, we've managed to get things wrong. And politics now came with bigger mistake. 1999. Ami was on the run. What did we do? We thought we declared victory. And their cronies moved in.
Moved in.
And society has suffered badly since then.
Professor, if I may likely want to take us back a little bit. You just mentioned about the civil societies in helping in electoral reformations. Where are civil societies these days? Because I tend to discover that for the past 2 or 3 years now, I've heard not about civil societies. Nigerians are not being carried along.
Yeah.
Things are just going
But
different
who
ways.
is civil society? Civil society is not something, all of us are civil society.
Yeah.
All
We
of
have all retreated.
civic culture.
Yeah.
And we are just
But
like-
the grouping, some belongs to groups. They have their own groups. We are NGOs. We fight for the masses. We let the masses know what's going on in the
We
government.
are hungry.
Of these days, nothing like that.
We are hungry, so that's why
They're in it
everybody's
for the money.
Yes.
You know, NGOs are set up to not all NGOs, please. You know, but many of them are set up simply to make money for those who registered them.
So you
Yes.
find that you can't
Yeah,
really
it's a shame,
do
but
some of
we-
those things and then just
our work is cut out for us. We are going to save this country. All of us are civil society. All of us must organize. Civil society is about horizontal linkages for the advance of the common good. I guess we'll just leave it at that, and we'll come back next time.
Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. That's all that we have time for. But please be sure to join us next time on the same station, Channels TV. Be sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is at Patitos Gang TV. Make sure that you follow us on all our social media platforms that are being displayed on your screen right now. Till next time, my name is Fumbi Ogunbanwo. Take care.